All right. Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right off the bat here. So let's go ahead and do that. That way we're all set up. Let's see. I want to share the entire screen, and I want it to be screen 2. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm going to test out the chat real quickly here. Let's see, what should I put there? Oh, I know. So some heroes that have been suggested even before starting this in a Discord were Thor, Black Panther. I'll just put that first. There we go. Thor, Black Panther, Shuri. And we also had Wolverine. All right, there we go. Nice, just want to see how that shows up in the screen setup that we have. I have a 2-screen setup there, so I figured I can put the chat in right over there. Okay. And let's see, we'll be getting started in just a little bit. All right. So I hope everybody has had a good weekend, right? We're here on a Sunday morning for my time here in California, but could be all kinds of times for people here and of course watching the recording. Okay. All right, so might as well kind of get started here, and then as people join, they can just join in with wherever we happen to be. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of make sure I'm logged in. I logged in earlier, but MarvelCDB will log you out if you're just sitting here for a while. So let's go ahead and, oh, actually, I want to see what full screen mode will look like here in just a sec here. Okay, yeah, just wanted to check that. Yeah, so if I go full screen mode, it will take out the chat. So I don't think I want to do that. All right. So let's go ahead and get started here in just a little bit. Okay, so let me click on My Decks just to make sure I'm signed in. Okay, looks like I am already signed in. As you can see, so that's where you would sign in. For those who might not be familiar with MarvelCDB, you would usually click on My Decks and it'll force you to sign in if you're not already signed in. Okay. All right, and so you can kind of see right there a bunch of decks that I've been working on recently, including this Hulk deck that I'm about to play test. Right, Hulk X. I'm going to make it a X-Men are going to be the allies that are going to be featured in it. So I'm planning on playtesting Hulk with something new. So those of you here live, I might go ahead and share that. So why don't I go ahead and start with in a Discord channel. Some people made some suggestions of some possible heroes, but anybody's welcome to suggest heroes here, that anybody who's here live. So we have Thor, Black Panther, Shuri, and Wolverine. So you can choose from either of those, any of those 3, or suggest somebody else. Does anybody have a suggestion for a hero that they're interested in us building a deck together? I'll check the chat, see if anybody has a specific suggestion. That's perfectly fine if you don't. All right, and I don't have any in mind either. These were just ones that I took as suggestions. So why don't we just go ahead and try one, and then people can make suggestions for the deck. I haven't built either a Thor deck or a Wolverine deck in a really long time. Both of those are great ways to go. If I'm just going to kind of pick one at random. Too bad I don't have my dice with me here. I could just pick one that way. Psylocke. All right. So Psylocke's one of my favorites, and I, in fact, haven't built a Psylocke deck in a while either. So let's go with Psylocke. All right. That's fantastic. So I'm going to hit New Deck. Thank you, Xavier Monroe. All right. And let's do Control F and let's type in Psylocke. There we go. So create a Psylocke deck. All right, and while we decide on which aspect to go with, why don't I go ahead and throw in our basic resources right away. I'm just going to assume for now, right? We could always remove these if necessary, but I'm going to assume right now we're going to have Energy, Genius, and Strength, our double resources in the deck. All right, so does anybody have a preference with Psylocke with regard to a specific aspect? So we, of course, we have our 5 aspects, right? So we've got leadership, aggression, justice, pool, and protection, right? So we've got the our 5 aspects to choose from, and I'm happy to go any way. And the goal is to build at least a couple of decks today, whether that's a couple of Psylocke decks or one Psylocke deck and something else. Any way is fine. And we can certainly have a lot of directions we can go to. One of the advantages of doing the same hero twice is that we could do different builds. Protection or justice? Okay, that sounds good. What do you think about, so I'm really enjoying that new card in protection that maybe we want to go that route. So let's go ahead and go protection here. So let me go ahead and find that card right away, right? So that's an upgrade and in protection. And I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. There are a lot of new ones we've had, but the one I was thinking of was the one that makes you flip over once the villain tries to attack. So tries to thwart, so it prevents them from thwarting. What is the name of that one? Let's see. Ready for a fight. Yes. Oh yes. You mentioned it before I saw it. Nice. Yeah. So I'm going to throw 3 of those in there, right? And so ready for a fight. Let me click on it here so we can see the card better. Okay. Right. So that's our 1-cost upgrade. Oops. What did I click on? Oh, I clicked on protective training instead. That's hilarious. Okay. That's funny. Okay. Here we go. Ready for a fight. Well, I'm glad I checked over here. All right. So ready for a fight, 1-cost upgrade, right? Does take a physical requirement in order to play it. Has an interrupt when an enemy would scheme, discard ready for a fight, change to hero form, that enemy attacks you instead. Now, if we look at, let's go ahead and check out Psylocke real quickly, right? So we know she's a psionic and X-Force traded, so that's important because she's not an X-Men, right? So we can't really go with like an X-Men build unless it's like some kind of mix of things. And then we also have the mutant and psionic traits on her alter ego side. I actually had forgotten she was a psionic. But ready for a fight is going to allow us to go to alter ego side and alter ego side. So first of all, she has 10 hit points, right? But on her hero side, she only has a hand size of 4. But she has awesome, built-in resources. And then on her alter ego side, she has a hand size of 6. So being able to go to her alter ego side really can, give us those extra cards. So I'm liking that idea. So if we go with ready for a fight for a preparation, might be nice to have at least 1 copy of that preparation that it's a basic preparation that lets you, get a preparation back. What is that one called? Let's see. Here, let's put in here, let's do a trait, preparation. I'm not very good at remembering names, so I'm going to need some help. Practice plan. There we go. So I'm going to put in just 1 copy of that for now. Yeah, you thought of it already. Okay, nice. So I'm going to put in 1 copy of that for now, but we can always go with more if we decide to. I tend to find that my decks fill up quickly with a bunch of cards, and then I always have to find other cards to then get rid of. All right. So she's a psionic. So what do you think about maybe looking for some cards that are psionic traded and see if some of those might be ones we want to throw in? So let me start typing in psionic. And oh yeah, I forgot there's some really nice psionic upgrades that are just basic. So we have the scimitar or scimitar, however that's pronounced. So let's see. So that's 2 cost upgrade. A weapon. Oh wait, it's restricted, but she already has her own psi knives, which are right permanents. Let me see. Let me click on that. Permanent. Oh, it doesn't say restricted. Oh, I guess I never noticed that before. Her psi knives. Is it restricted on the other side? Let me go to. Let's see, psi knife. And I want to see if the other side is restricted. Okay, so once you flip it over, it's restricted. Okay, yeah, you were saying that already. Yeah, okay, so the psi katana, so when she flips over to that side, then she would have restricted. So that's important to keep in mind. I don't think I necessarily want to deal with the whole restriction thing. So, you know, that's complicated to deal with. So probably not the best way to go, right? Pretty cool card though, right? When you do a psionic card, you deal 2 damage each time. But these cards are not restricted, right? The telekinesis and the telepathy. So kind of nice backup cards that she can trigger really easily, right? You know, so automatically you could deal 3 damage, excuse me, with the telekinesis, but the telepathy automatically being able to remove 2 threat from a scheme. She's pretty good at handling a lot of that herself, right? So let's look at her abilities, right? So she's only a 1/1 with a 2 of defense, but right, her psi knife gives her +1 thwart, so she could have 3 thwart, and her psi katana gives her, each of those gives her +1 to her ATK and gets piercing. So she can get as much as 3 just from herself with regard to that. So those may or may not be great choices. I don't know if you have an opinion on that. I was thinking maybe throw in the one that can help remove threat if we want her to focus on attacking. I'll just throw that in for now, but we can always remove that if you end up having an opinion on that. All right, or anyone has an opinion on it. Okay, so let's go ahead and so right now we're just looking at the upgrades. I'd actually like to look at everything. So let's see if there are any others in the basics first, right? So first of all, Legion is also a psionic. Professor X. Professor X could allow us to go down to alter ego side even more frequently, right? With being able to thwart. And it certainly still seems thematic if we wanted to go with thematic to have, you know, she may be an X-Force, but X-Force and, you know, X-Men go together quite well. So let's just throw in Professor X for now. White Queen, right? So do you have any thoughts about how many allies? You're welcome to share those. If you'd like to have a low number of allies, we can go that way. We can go heavy with allies, right? So of course, if we do go with an emphasis on allies, right, we can always still go with, if we look at the supports for a sec, if I take out psionic, right? So the nice thing, if we did go with like some X-Men in the build, then we can still, let me see, let me put in X-Men, and actually I want it in the description. Okay. Then the nice thing is with Utopia, 6 to 8 allies, nice. All right. Yeah, so I like that I tend to go for that same number of allies. So we could always include a fair number, like it's very strong still to include a fair number of X-Men allies, and Utopia is not restricted, right? So it has the traits of location and X-Men, and then a cost of 2. But if each of your allies has the X-Men trait, increase your ally limit by 1, which we wouldn't have to necessarily build for that, but it has this response. After an X-Men ally enters play, exhaust Utopia, ready an X-Men character. We wouldn't be able to ready Psylocke with that, but we could ready another X-Men character with that if we wanted to kind of build allies towards X-Men. So I'll go ahead and click on that for now. But if you have a different opinion, I'm happy to go a different direction. Oh, Children of the Atom. Yeah. So I actually haven't yet included Children of the Atom in one of my decks. So I think that's a great choice, right? Because then if we want to choose to have any X factors or X force, and that makes me think, right? This is protection. And I've always wanted to include, okay, so let's get Children of the Atom. We should only need one copy of that, right? Max one per player. Okay. So I've actually always wanted to include, and actually let me put in Cerebro too, right? Because since she's a psionic, she can maximize the use of Cerebro. So I'll go ahead and throw that in, right? So allows her to search her deck. And if she's a psionic, she can search for any X-Men that she wants in there. Okay. But speaking of which, so I don't know what you think about this. So let me put in X-Force for a second. Okay. And then click on protection. And let me get rid of this so we can see. I actually wanted to just look at allies. Oh, am I spelling it wrong? I actually thought we had another X-Force ally. I must be thinking of somebody. Okay, so let me get rid of X-Force real quickly. So I was thinking of the one that there's 3 copies of. What's his name? Multiple Man? What is he? Oh, he's X Factor. Oh, but that still applies, right? Yes, okay. Yeah, so I was kind of curious about that, right? Because Multiple Man's he's not something I would normally think of for, a mutant type deck. Very cool. Welcome, Heroic Skeleton. Cool. We barely started, really, right? So far, we've added Ready for a Fight and Telepathy as a maybe. And then we've put in, we have Professor X for going down to the other side as well to help, when Ready for a Fight's not ready. And we did put in one practice plan. And we have Cerebro because we are, Psylocke's a psionic, right? And we're looking at possibly using Children of the Atom. And so with that, we were thinking possibly including Multiple Man, because I've never included Multiple Man in this type of deck before. And I was thinking that could be kind of a cool, different build utilizing Multiple Man in a deck. Of course, as soon as you get him out there, he takes up all the spots. But if we already have played Children of the Atom, he would immediately become an X-Men character. And we went with Utopia, right? So yes. So I haven't talked about that anti-synergy between those two, but I agree with you on that. So like one of the things I found, because I've combined the two, and I've definitely noticed that there are some times when I go, well, I didn't actually get what I wanted out of that because I want to end my next turn over in. So this is a good thing to talk about, right? So one of the benefits of using Ready for a Fight, especially in a character like Psylocke, is that you can end your turn with that 6 hand size, so you get to pull 6 cards. But if you do have the villain confused, then you won't necessarily end your next turn in that on that side, right? You will likely end your next turn on a hero side, and then you only get to draw 4 cards instead of the 6, right? But at the same time, the confuse can help you with setup time, right? Giving you some of that setup time to still go down to alter ego when maybe you don't have Ready for a Fight available, right? And it would depend a lot too on, how much card draw do you have, so you know for sure you're going to have Ready for a Fight in your deck regularly. So I agree with you that there's an anti-synergy there, because I definitely noticed that in my own builds, that there were times when that could get in the way, unless there happens to be a minion out in play, because then your confuse would stop the villain. But then if there's a minion in play, but then you switch over to the other side. So so that doesn't. Oh yes, that would work, right? Yes, then the minion could possibly trigger Ready for a Fight, and you could still flip, right? So you could avoid it that way if you happen to be a minion out. But otherwise, there is definitely, I agree with that. Professor X could make that happen. Yeah. Yes, because the minions could possibly trigger it instead. So there are lots of possibilities. I'll leave Professor X in there for now, but I'm definitely okay with removing Professor X. Oh, true. right? And I have a tendency to think solo, and I'm happy to have people who are thinking about, I'm glad some people are thinking about multiplayer, because that, that's a completely different perspective. So I don't, does anybody have an opinion about multiple man? Like I've always wanted to create a deck that kind of used multiple man in a different way. Like in this way, he would actually function as a, oh yes, that is that advantage, right? So if we already have Children of the Atom in play, and Utopia comes out and Utopia is in play, we get that extra slot. And then if we use a multiple man, he won't necessarily kick another one of our allies out. So let me throw in multiple man, but I'm happy to go, a different route if people don't like that choice, right? Because there are, let's face it, a lot of strong X-Men allies. But I kind of, multiple man is so cool. Like I love the way he can come in. You can use him a couple of times to you get 3 thwart immediately or individual attacks immediately. And so I think he's pretty cool with that. And I kind of like that idea. But I am happy to go another way. But he does take up 3 slots, right? So that's the other thing. Oh, okay, nice. Okay, good to know, right? Yeah, so in multiplayer, so as Heroic Skeleton's mentioning, right, you can spam X each turn, confuse the first scheme, right? Then you have ready for a fight for the second scheme. Nice. Okay. All right. So all kinds of cool stuff going there. Okay. All right. So so here's what we have so far. We've got, and just 30 cards. Yeah, so okay, nice. Okay, so I can see some other people are liking that idea of having something a little different in here. Okay, so but we're going to want, if we are going to take advantage of Utopia, then let's go ahead and build out with some more of our allies. So let me go ahead and narrow it down to our X-Men, right? So we've got, let's see, I want them to be X-Men traded. Okay. And let's go ahead and look at the X-Men who are protection first and then at the basic, because I don't want to get overwhelmed with looking at too many all at once. Are there any particular X-Men in protection that anybody really likes for a deck like this, where it looks like we're going with this? Maybe Rogue. One thing I do like about Psylocke, right? She's really nice resource-wise. Oh, North Star. Okay, yeah, I like North Star a lot. So let's go ahead and click on North Star, right? So North Star, only 3 cost, which I like, right? So X-Men, 2 attack, 1 thwart, 3 health. But the important thing here has the interrupt, right? When a boost card is turned face up during an attack, you can deal 1 damage to North Star, cancel all the boost icons. So that's such a fun combination there. All right. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Great point. So let's get Iceman in here. All right. So look at that. Just like that, we already have 7 allies. We might be, because of multiple man, I'm guessing we're going to go a little heavy on the ally side. Okay. All right. There's always Polaris. Won't be able to give a tough, though, to our hero, right? Because Psylocke is X-Force. Oh, wait a minute. What does Children of the Atom... Each X Factor, X Force, and X-Men character. So actually, you could give it to Psylocke once that's in, right? So that's actually kind of a neat idea. Does anybody have an opinion one way or the other with regard to Polaris in this deck then? All right, I'm going to throw Polaris in, but we can always remove because we're going to have lots of options in the basics. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and go with Polaris, because I think in a deck like this, Polaris could be actually really powerful. So I think that's a great way to go. Armor's a cheap one, right? That comes in with the toughness. I don't know what anybody thinks about armor. There is another card I'm thinking of right now that I just want to propose. That's one of my favorite cards to put in Psylocke. So I know a lot of people like this card in general, but I actually don't. But I like it in Psylocke decks because I think Psylocke is able to have, right? And that card is our basic card, which is Avengers Mansion. So I don't know what you guys think of that. But I like Avengers Mansion and Psylocke decks. I don't put Avengers Mansion in a lot of my decks, actually. But I do like it a lot because I think she plays Avengers Mansion really easily. But, you know, I'm happy to go a different direction. Oh, okay. So that's a good point, right? Let me see. So yeah, so if she shows up too early, we could be in trouble with, let's go back to the allies. So let's go back to X-Men. I'm happy to remove Avengers Mansion if people don't want it. So, but just thought I'd throw it in there as a possibility. And then let's go back to our protection. Okay. All right, so that's a good point about armor, right? Because it's X-Men, but we won't be able to play until Children of Atom get in. And I don't want to force us to put in lots of copies of Children of the Atom just to be able to play her. So maybe that's a good point. All right. Hello, Daring Lime as well. Welcome. And welcome to Solo Marvel Champion. I don't think I said welcome there too. Okay. All right. Thanks, Heroic Skeleton, for the feedback on the Avengers Mansion there. Okay. And Xavier Monroe as well. Okay, good. Nice. All right. So what are we at? Just 34 cards. So still plenty of room. I was going to head over to the basics now to look at those X-Men because I'm figuring probably going to want our share of those. Oh, okay. Let's put that in for now, no matter what. So let me go, then get rid of this. I'm going to copy it or cut it, and then that way I can put it back in easily. Don't have to keep typing it. So Moira, yeah, because with all that flipping, we should be able to get a lot of advantage out of Moira McTaggart. And like you said, either as an alternative to Avengers Mansion or in addition to, right? So might end up not making the cut at the end. Okay. All right. Okay, so so let's look at the X-Men allies, right? So we're already up to 8 allies. So any particular allies, like I have a tendency myself to pick Beak, but again, oh, Beak doesn't have the restriction. We can use Beak if we wanted. Yes, so normally, so to catch you up, Daring Lime, so I think Iron Fist is a great choice. Normally here, our build is a Utopia build, so that may not be a route we want to go, but you didn't get a chance to see some of that. So we were going, even though she's an X-Force, Utopia can be played even if you're not. And so we were going for, you know, an X-Men type of build. But, you know, we can always throw one-offs in here if we end up feeling like that ends up being, you know, a particularly strong choice. Right? All right. So let's see. I'm going to go put in Beak for now, but if anybody's opposed, we can always take her out. But she just seems really strong in a deck like this, right? If we're getting a lot of X-Men out. And we already have, you know, our multiple man, who is the one who will, you know, once we have Children of the Atom out, multiple man will become an X-Men. Marrow, oh yeah, that's interesting, right? So now Marrow is not restricted, or is Marrow restricted until that happens? So let's see. Oh yeah, it won't be restricted because Psylocke has the X-Force trait, right? Yeah, there's something about being able to stun, you know, especially you can stun like twice. Another possibility too is, right, we always have those, we have some nice stunning cards now that only cost 2 in the upgrades. So that's always an option if we wanted to go that route instead to do some stunning. So hold on, we got Beak. Let me put in X Factor. Oh, it's not X Factor, it's the other one. Here, let's just go like this so I don't restrict it so much. There we go. Just put in the X. There it is, Marrow. So that's only if you have X-Force or X-Men. So we can play Marrow no matter what. Deals 2 damage right when they come in. So I think that works really well then, right? Yeah, so we're, no matter what, we've got that covered. So that puts us up to 10 allies, 37 cards. So I don't know what you guys think about that, right? So we've got, so we could go, that idea of stunning. So if we go to the upgrades, right, let's get rid of this X-Men. And if we go to our protection upgrades, and let's put in the description stun, the stun gun, that's it, right? So we have a stun gun that only costs 2 and has a lot of flexibility, right? So if we get one of these out, we could use it immediately if we need to stun the villain, to use both charge counters, or just use one of them to stun. And we already have some stunning too with Iceman. So it kind of seems like a pretty cool theme. So if I'm going to put 2 in, but if anybody, has a different opinion about that, we can always change that. So then that would kind of help take care of that idea of, as far as instead of using Ally Iron Fist, we could have Stun Gun taking care of that, and for a cheaper cost, and then still be able to mostly focus on X-traded allies in general. All right. So if we're going for a 40-card deck, we only have room for 1 more card. We can always remove some things, but we can also go over 40, and I'm happy to do that, right? I think there's no reason why. So one of the things we did in the previous live stream is we actually went with some extra cards. And anybody who ends up trying the deck, they could make their own decisions about which ones to remove or tweak. So I thought that worked out really well last time, going for some extra cards beyond 40, and I'm okay with going beyond 40 anyway. Okay. Power of the Mind. Okay. All right. Yeah. So because does she have? Let's look at Power of the Mind. Oh, basic. There we go. Why is that not showing up? Oh, I was probably Power of the Mind. There we go. I was missing the. All right. So Power of the Mind, right? So double the number of resources this card generates while paying for a psionic card, right? So if we look at, let me just throw in, we can throw in as many as 3, but let's just throw in 2 for a second. Okay. And then, so how many psionic cards does she have? We already know, right? We also have, it would help with paying for Professor X. Did we put in any other psionics? Just want to check on that. I don't think we did. All right, so it wouldn't help with any other allies. Okay, yeah, so we could always go that, because multiple man won't trigger Utopia, right, unless we already happen to have Children of the Atom in, right? So so we could remove multiple man, which would give us more room for those really strong allies. All of her events are? Okay, yeah, let's take a look at that, right? So we have Flurry of Blades is psionic, 3 of those, 3 Mental Detection, 2 Psionic Redirect, and 2 Telepathic Suggestion. Yeah, so that's 6, 7, 8, 10 cards, right? And Professor X makes 11, so that's pretty good. Yeah. Right. Yes. I was. I'm glad you brought that up, Heroic Skeleton, because I actually thought of that earlier myself. I was like, oh, it'd only trigger it once, even though you're bringing out 3 allies in one shot, right? So, all right, nice. So I'm glad you brought that up. So now that's kind of nice, right? That leaves room. So Power of the Mind. So that's looking really good. Now we have plenty of room for it, and this does give us 2 more cards, right? Oh, boy, I forgot about that. She reshuffles them back into her deck. How does she do that again? I forgot how that happens. I haven't played Psylocke in a while. I love Psylocke, but I just haven't played her in a while. What makes that happen for her reshuffling? Her alter ego? Oh, I can't see the alter ego that way. Let's see, alter ego. Exhaust 1 Psynergy upgrades, shuffle 1 psionic card from your discard pile into your deck. Oh, okay, yes. All right. Yeah, you can tell I haven't played her in a long time since I didn't remember that. Okay. All right. So very nice. So, oh, and the telepathy card, if we choose to keep the telepathy card, right, that could always go on the cutting block if we chose to. right? But that is a psionic card, so that's, oh, but that only costs 1 anyway. Oh, yes, White Queen. Yeah, let's go back to these ex-allies. All right, so White Queen, I have to admit, I like White Queen a lot. And you know what card? Yeah, because I don't know about you guys, but I play against a lot of villains that end up, so first of all, a lot of villains that end up with tough statuses, so it's great to get rid of that, but also a lot of villains that end up stunning or confusing me, and which I find extremely annoying. So I found White Queen to be really valuable, not always timely, but it's always just awesome when she can get rid of one of those. So I happen to like White Queen quite a bit as well, right? Triage might be really nice here, have a little bit of healing. I'm going to throw Triage in for a sec, but I'm happy to go a different route on that. Any other cards that people are wanting? And again, like I said, we can throw in extras beyond 40, just period. But also it could be nice for anybody watching, anybody later on looking at this deck, because I'll put in, this will be in part of my private collection because I'm not going to bother doing a write-up for it, but it'll be in the description of the video. And then people can go look at it. And if we put in extras, they can always go, oh, these are the cards I want to remove. So if you have some extras in mind, I'm happy to go with more, but I'm also happy to go with 40 if we just go, you know what, this looks good. Okay. All right. So any other cards people are thinking of at the moment? I'm just kind of scrolling through. Gambit's always nice. Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at those as some possibilities. So I like the idea of us putting some extra cards in so people can go with their preferences and have some choices for their decks. Of course, people could change their decks anyway. But let's go ahead and go back to protection. And so for those, now the truth is I've actually never once used Karma in a deck. Okay. So this might be the time when I play this deck, or if I play this deck, this might be the time that I actually use Karma in there. I actually think Psylocke could play Karma particularly cheaply. So that might be a great way to go for me for my first time when I play Karma. Okay. And then Come Get Me Bub. Let's go ahead and Come Get Me Bub. Okay. All right, so discard cards. So 0 cost, right? Hero action. And I actually haven't used this card myself either yet. I've been wanting to, so this can make for a real possibility. And one thing I like about Psylocke is she can easily thwart or attack as she needs to, and she has the ability to get through those toughs if some minion comes out with a tough, because she has piercing when she has her Psy Katana out. So she could particularly handle these well, especially with some other allies out. Right, discard cards from the encounter deck until you discard a minion, put that minion into play, engage with you. Then you heal 3 damage, right? So a great way to get some healing in from your identity and give your identity a stuff status card. So there's so many good things there. Let's put 3 of those in. Okay. All right. So any other cards crying out to somebody that they're going, let's include this as an option for somebody if they wanted to go with a particular build. Otherwise, I'm liking this as a first deck, and people can always go, further with it in other directions. All right, so I'm not seeing any real opinions there. So I'm going to call this our first deck, and and of course, people can always tweak them later. And I'll be putting in the notes later on that it's meant to be that people can choose how they would like to, pull cards out of this to make it be the deck they want it to be. All right, but I'll include those notes later after the recording. Okay. All right, so Psylocke, anybody getting a name in their head for a deck like this? I don't want to spend a lot of time with names, but if a name is striking you, then we can always put in a particular name in this case. But we can also just do a real generic one. All right. Okay. Thanks, Heroic Skeleton, with regard to Karma. Yeah, so we'll just put her in for now. But like that, I could very well see somebody, like you said, pulling Karma back out. Okay, so for a name for this, Betsy's ready for a fight. Nice. All right, Betsy's ready for a fight. Okay, excellent. All right, good. So I was hoping for somebody to get somebody ready for a psych. All right. Okay. So nice. I like that. That's a good twist. Why don't we go with that one in this case? All right. Ready for a psych. All right. Ready for a psych. Would we put an E on that? Psych. Yeah. Oh, I forgot the S. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's go ahead and go with that one. I like the Betsy's ready for a fight as well. But we got to choose something. So I'm just going to go this route, and we'll save this deck, and then we'll start a new one. All right. There we go. Okay, finally. Okay, so there's our final copy of Ready for a Psych. So our Protection Psylocke deck, and lots of directions for people to go to refine it. 44 cards is pretty nice start. And then people can remove some cards or just say, hey, I'm going to go for it with a 44 and see how it works, right? Which is something I sometimes do. That I'll just start with it and go, oh, okay, what's working, what's not working, and then I start refining my deck. But everybody has a different approach. Okay, so we can go with another hero or just do another aspect for Psylocke. One advantage of going for another aspect is we already feel familiar with Psylocke, and we can do our second build a bit faster, which worked out well last time in the first live stream. So I'm kind of leaning towards that. If nobody has an objection, we can just choose another aspect for Psylocke. When somebody brought it up earlier, I think they suggested Justice as another possibility. And I wouldn't mind going that way because I think I already have a leadership Psylocke deck in my collection. I'm not sure actually. Actually, maybe I haven't done that one yet. Leadership's my favorite, frankly, but I kind of like doing something other than my favorite for something like this. So maybe let's go ahead and try Justice unless somebody has something else they'd like to go. Okay, thanks, Xavier Monroe. All right, good. Let's just go with that. Okay, so I'm going to clone this just to get us there faster. And then we can always edit the name later. Let's do edit, because clearly that name's not going to apply to this deck. All right, so let me change the aspect to Justice, and let's get rid of all of these cards now. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, Psylocke is definitely, I think I ranked her my top one in my, it's been a while since I did my ranking deck, my ranking video, my tier list, which was based on favorites, not strength. And although I think Psylocke's really strong too, but I'm pretty sure Psylocke was my number one at that time. All right, so we always have some of the cards we can remove that we have in here already. But this will make it easier for if we want to include some of the same ones, then we still have them. Okay? All right. So practice plan doesn't really make sense right now, but who knows, maybe it'll make sense later. Okay. All right. And we might want to go a whole new direction instead of going with Utopia. Yes. Yes. So any cards in particular that people are thinking right away that we should consider? There are great upgrades too, right? So it's hard not to consider some upgrades that really help us out right off the bat. Oh, yes, that's right, Husk. Yeah, our 4-cost ally, right? 2 thwart, 2 attack, but she has the potential to stay out there forever with her abilities, right? Has that interrupt, spend up to 3 resources. If you spend at least, and 1 energy, you get +1 power, but you have this healing, and Psylocke would have the ability to heal her all the time. Oh, that's really strong. Okay, 3 steps ahead. Let's type that in. Okay, 3 steps. Oh, spelled out maybe. 3 steps ahead. All right, so for each different resource type, and she has the ability to use different resource types really easily. Use to pay for this card, choose a scheme, and remove 2 threat from it, right? So she has the ability to do that easily. I've actually never used 3 steps ahead in any deck of my own, and I think this sounds like a great contender. So I'm going to start with 3 of these, and we can always narrow those down. Yeah. All right, looking at the upgrades, I don't know how you guys feel about Under Surveillance as a card that's just makes, going down to Alter Ego so much safer. And of course, she benefits from going to Alter Ego. So any opinions on that one on Under Surveillance going in this deck? I'm going to put it in there, and then people can always, express a different opinion if they wish. Okay, so Under Surveillance, right, helps to increase the scheme, its target threat value by 4. Okay, so it makes it easier to go down to Alter Ego side. All right, let's see. So now we have some really good threat removal, right? And she already had that to begin with, right? Because she has her, which one was it? Okay, yeah, right. That's right. She has her own confuse ability, which might mean maybe there's a good reason to pull Professor X out. Professor X, of course, also thwarts nicely, but if somebody wanted to pull Professor X out in order to put other things in, we could. But yeah, Under Surveillance then acts as a nice backup, right? So if the villain is confused, but then ends up with an advance, then Under Surveillance can still keep you safe. So we can go ahead and leave it in there as that nice backup no matter what, right? Okay. If anybody does want us to pull out Professor X to make room for something else, we can always do that. Okay. If we are going to keep Utopia in, then we might want to put in, right? We only have 7 allies at this point. We might want to put in some more. We already have Heavy Confusion, so we don't necessarily, need. Let's go ahead and put in X-Men here for the trait. Let's go with just X. Okay, Justice, and let's get rid of this so we can just see everything. Okay. All right, so all of our Justice ones here. So normally I like Dazzler in a lot of decks, but we already have quite a bit of confusion to begin with. So Dazzler's not necessarily. Bishop can be fun in a deck like this. I don't know what you guys think there, right? So being able to build up those attack. Actually, we have the ability to thwart pretty easily in here. What do you guys think about? Let's look up attack. So what do you think about some possible attack type cards? So we have a lot of choices there, right? We have Waylay, we have Upside the Head. So I don't know if you think about integrating some of that in here, because we have, a lot of thwart ability, and the allies have the ability to thwart, and so does Psylocke. So we could use that to take advantage of getting in some real good attack, right? Because Waylay itself, if you get rid of the last threat from the scheme, which should be pretty easy in this deck, then you can attack for 7. Oh, okay. All right. So that's a possibility, right? So we could always move away from the Utopia build as well. So if anybody wants to move away from that, let me know, because we could go away from that. Although, wait, do we now have, are any of these new ones we put in? Oh, she's the only one. Okay. I'm going to throw in a couple of copies of Waylay. Float like a butterfly. So hold on. Let me look at Cypher and Chamber for a sec. Okay. Right, so we have Cypher. So this is if we chose to move away from the X-Men build. Oh, but Cypher is an X-Force, so could become X-Men with this build. So attacks and damages a confused enemy, you draw a card. So let's throw that in for now. Okay, right. Again, we'll probably go for extra cards in the deck. Okay? Yeah, Justice has so many possibilities. Okay, and then let me look at Chamber as well. Chamber is a psionic and an X-Men. Okay, so then you can play use power of the mind to help pay for psionic as well. I mean, to pay for chamber. Chamber takes -1 consequential damage or attacks a confused enemy. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that confused idea in here, right? So looking for confused. And then there it is. Not upside the head. What was it? Oh, I'm in events. That's why. So is those upgrades, right? Float like a butterfly, right? So we can throw that in there. Okay. All right. So now we, of course, still want synergy in this. So that's the other part we'd want to check on is, those synergistic things. But I think there's a lot going on here. Oh, that's right. Man, I really haven't played her in a long time, right? Because she already has her skills, right? Because her own cards, right? She has her martial arts training, the psionic training, and the weapons training, which is the card that brings back those. Which card brings back her skills? I can't remember which card that is. Anybody know which one it is that brings her skills back? Right? Because there's a card that brings them back, right? Or searches the deck for them. Training regimen. Let's see, right here. So 1 cost support, exhaust training regimen, search your deck for a skill card and add it to your hand. Nice. So that's awesome. So then we'd be able to get float like a butterfly really easily whenever we are ready for it. Okay. Okay. Nice. All right. So to give people more options, I was thinking, so this deck is like really cool, I think. Like I'm really liking this deck. But if we are going to go float like a butterfly, then maybe adding in, so coming back to allies, then maybe coming back to Dazzler might be a good thing to really make sure that we get that confusion going. So that actually, that might be a good, to give people an option anyway of doing some extra confusing. All right, so that gets us up to 42, which actually I just think is a nice size for a deck anyway, but a person who wanted it more efficient could easily remove 2. Maybe we should leave it there, and then if other people, when they see this deck, they might go, oh, here are the cards I'd like to add, then they could. What do you guys think about telepathy? It feels kind of unnecessary in this deck. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So searching for, yeah, I didn't even think about that. So it shows you the type of build. I haven't really done builds like that, looking for that. So I'm thinking to get rid of telepathy in this deck. It doesn't really feel like it's necessary, though there is the other one, right? So there's telepathy, but there's the other one, telekinesis or something like that, that would focus on damage. Okay. And that could be something we would want to have always available. Let's take a look at that, right? So exhaust, telekinesis, spend 2, deal 3 damage to an enemy. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's look at upside the head. Okay. Oh, yeah, right. So upside the head has that advantage, right? So if we, because probably a lot of times we will have the villain confused and then we can have them also stunned, right? Because hero response after you attack, right? Your hero makes a basic attack and damages an enemy, confuse that enemy. But if it's already confused, it's stunned. Okay, all right. So I think this will be, I'm going to throw in 3 of those. And then now I think this is a good place to be, to give people the flexibility to decide which way they want to go. Oh, upside the head is also a skill. Now this isn't limited to in the type of skill, right? Training regimen for a skill card. So it doesn't have to be a skill upgrade. Okay, that's awesome. Wow, okay. So this looks like a lot of fun and very easy for people to decide which way they want to go. If they want to remove the upside the head, they can. If they want to remove 3 steps ahead, they can. There are plenty of allies here to help with the thwarting. So the 3 steps ahead might not be necessary. So I could see people going that way. So, okay. All right. So again, I'm going to put in the notes later on about that this deck is meant to be one that people don't necessarily run with 45 cards, but instead decide which things they want to remove depending upon the way they want their deck to emphasize or they could try it all and just see how it goes and then edit from there. So I'm going to keep telekinesis in, but I could see somebody removing that. All right, this looks good. So let's go ahead and think of a name for our second deck here. All right, so clearly that's not going to be the name. All right, so there's a ton of locking. There's a ton of locking going on here, right? So stun lock and confuse lock, possible stun lock, but for sure a confuse lock. So, so could be a name having to do with that. Man, this looks like a fun deck. Both of these decks do. It's really making me want to. I'm probably going to go to Psylocke pretty soon on my channel. Oh, nice. Okay. Here we go. We've got a name. All right. So lock, and I like that hyphen in there. Locked down. Oh, capitalize that down for the title here. All right. So locked down. I'm going to save it. And I think we've locked this one down. All right, very nice. So thank you very much, everybody. So I'm gonna go ahead and have a stop after 2 of them. I think that's a nice amount of time for this live stream. And thanks for showing up, everybody. I had a great time and very creative ideas. I think we have a couple of decks that are different, which, having so many different minds working on this, I think really emphasized that a lot. So I appreciate everybody's input. And even if we didn't choose some of the cards people might have selected, I think we were able to get cards maybe related to what that selection was, right? So hopefully everybody feels like, they were contributing, even if we didn't necessarily pick a particular card. All right. So I appreciate everybody's engagement here. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this here so the stream doesn't just keep going. But thanks for joining. So let's go ahead and let's see. I'll stop sharing my screen first, and then I'm going to end the stream. All right. Welcome. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend.